Okay, so when it comes down to episode 3, because I went to watch it with my little brother and my friend Andrea, Geek358 underscore 2, I gotta say, man, it gives me flashbacks to when I watched it when I was a kid. Because keep in mind, this was in 2005, so 20 years ago from now. And my God, Lee, I was born in 1999, so in that case, I was 6 years old when I saw the movie for the first time. And keep in mind, I was taken with my little brother to see the Clone Wars, or Attack of the Clones, when that first came out in theaters. But I have no real recollection of that one, so remembering this movie, which was the trajectory that made me into a Star Wars fan, is kind of funny 20 years later. Now with the hindsight of an adult, as well as the fact that there were so much things that were added after this movie was made, it honestly makes the experience interesting, unique, and pretty entertaining, considering the fact that we're seeing episode 3 in the big screen. Now, my personal thoughts on Star Wars episode 3 is that, personally, in my opinion, I think that it is literally the best Star Wars. I guess you could say equal to Empire Strikes Back. However, I personally enjoy Return of the Jedi a lot more. Now, that's not to say that Return of the Jedi is better than Revenge of the Sith. I think Revenge of the Sith out-nails Return of the Jedi. I just personally like Return of the Jedi, but Revenge of the Sith is still top 2 on my list. So yeah, Return of the Jedi, Revenge of the Sith. However, I love this movie. I absolutely think it is a 9 out of 10. And my reasoning is just because obviously the Anakin and Padme scenes are honestly a bit cringy. Hell, even some Obi-Wan Kenobi and Padme scene, which is where he obviously is saying that he killed younglings. You can absolutely tell now as an adult that he is trying not to laugh. You can tell he has a little attempt of trying to keep a serious professional moment that the character is feeling. But I mean, the lines are still pretty cringy, George, but you know what? I love them. I absolutely enjoy this. This episode alone has so many damn quotes. It's unironically funny. But there's so many highlights looking back at it, and obviously right now, is that Obi-Wan versus General Grievous is such a treat. Everyone literally laughs when you have Obi-Wan kicking Grievous, thinking that would do something, and instead it just hurts his leg. Then you obviously have Palpatine versus Mace Windu. It definitely looks like, now that I've seen it right now again with my own eyes, that Palpatine isn't taking it seriously. There is a moment that Palpatine had Mace Windu dead to rights, and yet it looks like he is screwing around. But the real purpose for this is to give Anakin time to eventually arrive, and obviously the sequence of events that happened is what was Palpatine's plan. But seeing Palpatine's faces during the fight, it was just showing weird faces and stuff, is so hilarious that it's really hard to ignore. But something else that I had also noticed throughout this whole movie is, obviously, like I said, being an adult and seeing a lot more, is throughout the movie, you see Anakin care for others, and how this, unironically, is his downfall. Because at the beginning of the movie, with the clones, they're all in trouble. One of them is, going to die. And Anakin was going to diverge from his path, so whatever his mission was, to save this clone. Obi-Wan had to remind Anakin that, no, they're doing their job so we can do ours. And then, obviously, Obi-Wan, when he's in trouble and he's pretty much ready to accept death, you have Anakin there refusing to give up on Obi-Wan and manages to save him and saves his life again after the battle against Dooku, cares for Palpatine because he views him as a genuine friend and mentor, and hates it when the council essentially have him as the spy for them to see what the Chancellor's up to. He clearly cares for Padme and his child that he doesn't know it's Luke and Leia, but there's a lot of things that he definitely cares for. And Yoda trying to tell him, because he went to Yoda after having the nightmares of Padme dying in childbirth, was attempting to see, is there a way to save Padme without directly saying it? And Yoda's thing, with barely any context, essentially tells Anakin that death is a part of life, and that he should cherish life, because once they die, it's not like they'll be forgotten. It's just that he has to keep moving because life keeps going regardless of what happens. And that genuinely, you shouldn't try to prevent people from dying because, I mean, it's just everyone's fated destiny to die, but to learn to let go. And unfortunately, that lesson is something that Anakin just can't. He can't let the people he cares about die, which is a lot shown specifically when it involves Ahsoka as well in Clone Wars, when he's trying to help her out when she's obviously blamed for something she didn't do. So this movie kind of opened my eyes a lot more and appreciate Anakin Skywalker as a character. Like, he genuinely turned to the dark side. Yeah, obviously if this was a series, like, it'd be a build-up to it, but because the movie did such a good job of showcasing Anakin's whole flaws and how this led him to the dark side, and obviously the stuff he did, his defeat to Obi-Wan is pretty heartfelt because Obi-Wan did not want to fight Anakin. Hell, he even wanted to fight the Emperor, which is funny because he would have lost. But even then, like, he steeled himself to fight Anakin, and I mean, he still tried to reach him, and once he had the high ground, like, it was do or die kind of thing. And I mean, Obi-Wan beating Anakin, he got to let out his frustration that he loved Anakin, like, it's his brother, but unfortunately he went the wrong path. So there is so much about episode 3. It's just the music, the choreography, the emotions of the stronger scenes. Yeah, you have the weak scenes of Anakin and Padme, but I've kind of grown to be fine with it. Like, it's just little romancy here and there. It doesn't overwhelm it like in episode 2, but man, I genuinely feel like bad for Obi-Wan because he had to take down his brother. Like, it reminds me back to when I first felt the movie, because I had no context of Star Wars. I didn't watch the original trilogy or episode 1 or episode 2. Well, I did, but I don't remember episode 2 when I was a kid. So this was like the biggest first memory, and watching all of it unfold was crazy as hell, making me curious, like, what happens next? Can they beat the bad guys, kind of thing? And then I watched the original trilogy, and, you know, the history says it all. And as a Star Wars fan that has been obviously critical of Disney, and I've kind of drifted a little bit away from Star Wars, watching this reminds me of why I really love Star Wars. The story is just amazing. Like, it's opera, of course, but it just reminds me of the good and evil aspects, and how, yeah, Palpatine manipulated the good kindness of Anakin, like his ability of caring for others. He manipulated that because Anakin cared for him. And man, it's just crazy kind of looking back at it all these years later, and how we have this extra lore stuff and all this other things. However, this episode, even without Clone Wars or any extra content from the comic books or books alone, it is a damn well good movie, start to finish. And it shows at the end of the movie, like, a new hope as will eventually rise. Because it's either the sunset or sunrise, which, I mean, each of its own have symbolism. If it's the sunrise, it means that this new hope will eventually rise to the occasion. And if it's the sunset, it means that for now, hope has to rest. Like, it's gonna take some time before the eventual sunrise will come back and the light will take over what is the darkness that as Palpatine and Vader. But my godly, like, this movie, there's so much to honestly talk about, even though obviously it's been talked to death about many different YouTubers, many different critics, and obviously everyone who's a Star Wars fan has definitely seen it and analyzed it and done so much. But I think if I ever do reanalyze this, it's going to be with obviously my own perspective on it, obviously a little more different than maybe years ago, but my godly, I still give this a 9 out of 10. Like, it is still damn well. All the quotable lines, all of the fun action sequences, the music, it still holds up to this day. The visuals still hold up. Like, it looks like it could have been something done recent time, better than most recent times. But, you know, I mean, that's just me, of course. It's my opinion. I am curious to know, what do you guys think about episode 3? Like, did you guys rewatch it? And if not, and if you recall of rewatched or having watched it, tell me, what did you thought of Star Wars episode 3, Revenge of the Sith? Because personally for me, I will always love that damn movie.